Welcome to First Baptist Church of Gas City. Today, we talk about mission first. Mission first. Oftentimes, we don't think about the mission. If you work in a factory, your mission is to bring home a paycheck. If you work anywhere, the mission of you personally is to bring home a paycheck. What is the thing that we are often told? Get a good job. Get a good job, earn money, save money, raise a good family. Seldom does the average worker ever think about what the mission of that company is. Because we're not interested in what the mission of the company is, what we're interested in is the paycheck. And I'd like for us to think differently. Even in the church, our mission is to get something out of it. One of the biggest complaints of any congregation of people, they go to a church, and the reason why they move to a different church, they often say, I wasn't being fed. It almost sounds like our Sunday school. I'm not saying our Sunday school is saying we don't get fed. I'm saying we're talking about Moses and the people he was leading to the promised land, and they were getting manna every day, and they decided that's not enough. They didn't even know what the mission of their being was. How God called those people to be a people, not so that their needs would be met, but so that they would be a witness. Now, when we think about our lives, we begin individualistically. We think in terms of me, my situation, and we often say, what's in it for me? When we go to get a job, we say, what are the benefits? Why should I even consider working with you, for you? And so, I'd like us to think there's always a purpose for why we go through something. Because there's always the outside, the outcome. Why do we do what we do? When I joined the military, I went to basic training, and a friend of mine went there before I did. And he warned me of the stallless toilets. And I thought, no way. I do not want to be sitting next to somebody doing my business next to that person who's next to another person. And lo and behold, there was a barracks. Fortunately, it was the reception area before you went to your actual basic training unit. And lo and behold, you go in that building, and that is a toilet building. One toilet after the next. And he warned me in a letter, you will be subjected to indecencies. You will be taken out into the courtyard at night at 3 o'clock in the morning in your undies. And you will have to do log drills. This is going to happen. And those drill sergeants are going to get inches away from your face. I can imagine what it's like today. They have to wear a mask, they can't get that close, so forth. But the idea that you're going to be subjected to many things, you're going to be ridiculed, you're going to be treated poorly, you're going to get great food. And then at the end, you're going to come out a man. Now, oftentimes we don't think about the end. We think about, oh, you're going to be treated this way, you're going to be treated that way, you're going to be this and that and everything. You're going to experience all this, and it's going to be terrible. And we forget. And at the end, it's going to be all good. Now, the text for today comes from Matthew chapter 16, verses 21 to 27. And it reads, From that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, chief priests, and teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and on the third day be raised to life. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Never, Lord, he said, this shall never happen to you. Jesus turned and said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the things of God, but the things of men. Then Jesus said to his disciples, If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for me will find it. What good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world, yet forfeits his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, then he will reward each person according to what he has done. See, sometimes we forget that Jesus has a mission. There's somebody else. That Jesus has a mission. That we don't think about what Jesus' mission was in the first place. Jesus' mission is to transform the world. Jesus' mission is to transform the world for his glory and our benefit. Not the church's benefit, but the world's benefit. And the challenge to us is that we come to church thinking of our own situation, our own circumstances, and we forget that the gospel, the good news, is for all people from all walks of life. This is why he came. To transform everyone's heart. Not just the people we like. Not just the people who have the same ideology as we do. But to transform from inside out. And this is a difficult thing for us. For Listen to how this works. This is no different than me going to basic training, in a sense. Because Jesus shows his disciples, his students, that he must go to Jerusalem. See, I told people I must go to Fort Knox. I must go to Fort Knox, and I will be treated by the drill sergeants, by the cooks, by the company commander, by the first sergeant. I will be treated harshly. But I will graduate and become a soldier. Now, Jesus said that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and the chief priests and scribes, and to be killed. Do you realize that's what happens with the church? That when a person, just like that young lady, accepted Christ, see, no one told this 10-year-old that you are going to suffer from the elders, from the teachers, from the preachers, and then you will become a new person. Because it is suffering to us, because when we come into the life of the church, we come with our own agenda. We come with our own agenda, and we come in, and then you get subjected to preaching. That tells you need to rethink. You hear the scriptures that goes totally against what you've been taught from the culture. You start getting stripped of what you believed was true and important in this world. It's kind of like going to the shop, an old piece of furniture that's been painted 25 times. And then the heat gun comes out. And the heat gun starts blasting away at those layers upon layers of old paint to get to the beauty and the wonder of the natural intention of why that piece of wood was created in the first place. Isn't it amazing that that piece of wood is more beautiful than any paint job you could ever put on it? In my oftentimes? And so that's like us. We're created in the image of God, but then as we go through life, we get coats and coats and coats and layers of ideologies, of understandings, of things that have nothing to do with God's purpose. But we tie those things, those trappings to God. We say, this is of God. This ideology is of God. This way of thinking is of God. This way of being is of God. When, in truth, when you take the layers away, you find the true beauty of what God intended. And that hurts. I took my heat gun to school and I did an experiment, and one child said, well, that looks like a hairdryer. I said, don't ever go in your dad's garage, your mom's garage, and think you're going to use that for a hairdryer, because you will not have any hair. You will, oh. And then they would end up saying, well, Mr. Fritchman brought a hairdryer in, and it looked like it was powerful. And I get my hair dried real quick, because you know how I'm late, Mom. So I was just doing what Mr. Fritchman did. No, I never pointed it at my head. But we've got to look at what Jesus did. He said he had to go to Jerusalem. Why does he have to go to Jerusalem? Because that's the seat of Judaism. Why did he come? He came to transform the people that claimed to be followers of God. And that was the heart of it. That was the epicenter. And he knew that the elders who was supposed to be on the same team he was going to try to skew the message. Because they had special privileges. And Jesus was not about special privileges for anybody, including himself. And those people ridiculed him. They made fun of him. They said that he was of the devil. Now think about this. When you know that you are doing the best you can, you're being as honest and faithful to a business as possibly you can, and then someone accuses you. That hurts. That drives a stake in your heart. In one of my duty stations, I was responsible for the sacristy wine for the priests. And one day they came in and they said, what happened to wine? One, I can't stand the taste of alcohol. So I didn't do anything with it. But they were accusing me of such foul play of the wine. And then when I went up to the headquarters and I got my mail, and in the mail was an award from the previous unit that I came from. And they happened to be there. And I said, see, I'm not that bad. Somebody thinks highly of me. But what they were really doing, they were trumping up a charge so that they could get all my credential information so that they could run a letter of appreciation through the channels so they could applaud what I was doing. But when that happened, when they were going through the all they had to do was just say, who's your company commander, who's your next in charge, and so forth and so forth. Instead, they broke my heart. The idea that I was being accused of something that was not true. And Jesus was suffering a lot because he came in the Father's stead to transform the world, to show how to really live. And then here are people, elders and scribes and people who know the law, that know the scriptures, and they are going to treat him like he's nothing, that he is not on the mark. That hurts. Do you ever experience that? Where you, in all good faith, have been living up to what you're called to do, and then someone accuses you of something. That's a suffering. That hurts. And to be killed. See, to have your ideals crushed hurts. And in a real sense, we are to die to the old ways of thinking and see differently. Because the mission is a transformation of the world, not a happy, I'm happy in Jesus thing. That because I come to church, I feel good, I go out and I live my life, I have a great time with my family and friends. No, that's not the purpose of Christ. Christ is not here to make us happy. We are happy in Jesus because we are content with family of God. In another gospel, it said, well, earlier in this gospel, in Matthew, it says If you love your mom, your dad, you love your kids more than me, then you're not worthy to be my disciple. Is that not something that challenges our thoughts? This is in the Gospels. This is what Jesus says. He says, you must be about my mission, not yours. That's what it says. And we say, we're people of the book. And this book speaks to all of us. It's a double-edged sword. You love God, you love others, you will love your family, but not disproportionately in the sense that they dictate how you live faith. They don't determine what is true and not true if it's not sifted through the scriptures. Your political party does not determine what you believe. It doesn't. God must determine what you believe. And that's a hard thing, because sometimes we equate our faith with a party, when in all reality, no party lives up to the billing, because it's complex. Not everybody in this nation wants to be transformed. They don't want to go to Jerusalem. They do not want to be transformed. They don't want their ideals challenged. They don't want to be killed in the sense of their identity. Naturally. When I was in basic training and we were marching, we had a chant that went 1, 2, 3, kill. I would say something like 1, 2, 3, thrill! 1, 2, 3, thrill! Because I didn't join the army to be a killer. But of course, if you're in combat, kill or be killed. But that's not the way I was. That wasn't my thinking. And I don't need to be conditioned to do that. Because there's a greater purpose. Guess what my barracks number was? 666. Yeah. And guess how many chaplain assistants were in there?
13.
2! So, God knew that He and I could handle this. But it wasn't about that number. It was about attitude. It was about, and there were other people of faith in that barracks. Of different faith traditions. Wonderful people. See, God changes our attitude, changes our perspective, changes what we see as real. The mission of Christ, you notice what He said. I got to go to Jerusalem, and the disciples knew they're going to kill you. And then He's going to be treated poorly. But what gets lost in all the clutter of our mind is, and I'll be raised 3 days later. It's like, did you not remember that one? All you were thinking about is how bad it's going to be. And Jesus said, gave him the rest of the story. In 3 days, I'll rise again. But I don't want to go through all that. Just like kids who go through school don't want to go through school. Am I right? Yeah. But you're told, you gotta go to the high school. Yeah, you gotta go to the high school, and you're gonna be treated poorly by the teachers. They're gonna put homework on you, and they're gonna have high expectations.
No, the second last two are correct.
What?
The homework and high expectations.
High expectations and that. But you welcome that, don't you? No, okay, 50-50. So, we go to school, you got to go through it. Before I went into teaching, I thought, no, I don't want to really do more paperwork. But somehow, I did. And I made it through. I got to where I'm at. And yeah, it was a struggle. But everything we do, there's a struggle to get to where we want to be. And we got to go to that town. We got to go to that school. We got to go to that training. We got to do this in order. We got to go through their struggles to get to where we want to be. Yes. And Jesus goes to Jerusalem. He experiences ridicule and even physical torment and mental torment. But when he comes out of the tomb, he's glowing. He's refined. And when one of the ladies wanted to touch his feet, he said, "Don't touch this, because I haven't ascended." He was bright and shiny. And if we end up changing our ideology, our understanding of things, because of Christ and His way, we will come out shining. We will be glorified. Is it worth being ridiculed, being seen as, well, you're not who you say you are, blah, blah, blah? We're going to come out shiny at the other end. Because there are things that want to block us. You know, sometimes it can be family. It can be family. As much as we love our family, sometimes they can be very needy. And they keep us from thinking about what the true purpose is. The transformation of the world for the glory of God and our well-being. And when Jesus says, if you seek your life, you will lose it. Because what happens? When we think of special interest groups, that's exactly what they are, special interests. It's about them. They're trying to save their special interest. But in reality, they lose the big picture. They're trying to take care of this little slice of the pie, but it's hurting this big piece of pie. It happens. Jesus is interested in, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these other things will be taken care of. I told students how it took 100 years, 105 years for the U.S. government to manage mining industry. For 100 years, they're digging holes, drilling in, extracting minerals, and leaving the earth the same way, not the same way they found it, but the way they dug it. For 105 years, People had good paying jobs, but they're tearing up the environment. Took 105 years to realize this isn't really a good idea. And think about it. 1872, Mining Act gets, come into our property, the government property, and dig, 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 dig. Let the extracts go everywhere and whatever. And then 1977, remember the commercial, the Native American alongside the highway? And that McDonald's or whatever the fast food thing got tossed out to the side of the road, and then the tear drops.
He's too young.
It was way before your time.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was a sense of, what have we done for special interests? For our interest to drive fast to where we want to be, interest of having smooth roads, the interest of whatever you want to say was part of it. Now we've got computers. We have computers. It takes care of one problem. We got lots of information. It creates another problem. Who digs in those little holes in Africa? 4-year-olds. Everyone has a phone in America, but the materials that are gathered by 4-year-olds in mud. They're digging in holes so that we can enjoy this, but that 4-year-old will never have a cell phone of themselves. See, you solve a problem, create a problem. And Jesus came to solve all problems. And this goes along with the Sunday school. Contentment versus happiness. What does that look like? I was okay with encyclopedias where it says, go to letter this, go to this. That was the original surfing the web. Surfing the clunk books. But I felt knowledge like a scholar. And plus, it was a good workout. See, Cannon, you're missing out on buff. I was a buff academic back then. Yeah. Lift those books, open them up. Oh, I got to go to another book. This book is even thicker. S is really thick. X is very thin. But the whole point is, you go in here, you experience all this discombobulation, and you come out here who you're really meant to be. Are we willing to go and be stripped of what we think is right and find out what is right and true? It's tough. Are we wanting to be glorified or just satisfied? It's our choice. In Jesus' name, the mission comes first.